Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another episode of the Aaron Advantage podcast. As 2021 comes to an end, I just wanted to make a real quick video to let you know some of the bold predictions that I'm hearing about what to expect in 2022. Now, first and foremost today, before I get started, I want to talk about the fact that these are going to be bold predictions, not just for the market as far as the general consumer, but also some information about real estate agents and what they should expect in 2022. My audience is not just consumers, but I do a lot of speaking and training to a lot of different agents, both within my company and around the state. And a lot of the stuff that I want to talk about today is some of the information that I've pulled from Brian Buffini and Lawrence Yun. Now, Brian Buffini is the founder and chairman of Buffini and Company, which is the largest training and coaching company in North America. They're actually who I do my personal real estate training with. I'm a certified mentor with their company, teaching 3 or 4 of their different courses that I'm certified to teach that I've taught over the years. And it's an organization that's really dedicated to sharing powerful lead generation systems that they utilize, typically working by referral through generating relationships with the clients that they represent. If you've had the pleasure of working with, if I've had the pleasure of working with you in the past, you know that I focus more on the relationships with the people that I'm working with so that I don't have to spend as much time cold calling, door knocking, or spending money for lead generation, because ultimately it puts the power in the palms of the consumer. The people that I'm working with are more likely to refer me more business if I take great care of them, and that's really ultimately the best thing that I can do, and it's a lot more fun, allows me to really develop deeper relationships with my clients and have a very fun and successful business. Now, the purpose of this year's broadcast was to give some peace of mind for real estate agents and to offer some certainty to consumers with the information that was provided. As I mentioned, this was Brian Buffini and Dr. Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors. I was fortunate enough to get to hear Dr. Yun in San Diego this year at the National Association of Realtors annual convention and conference, and that was a lot of good information there. I've talked about a little bit about that previously, and some of that was a repeat of this information on this broadcast. Brian Buffini always talks about the fact that he likes to have 3 main points that he's always going to discuss. The 3 main points of this broadcast were the current state of the market, interview with Dr. Lawrence Yun, and then the good habits for a good year. And that really dove deeper into what real estate agents should be doing and expecting moving forward in 2022. Let's kick it off with the state of the market. First off, we all know that the nation is feeling the speed of the market due to the fact that we are sitting in the lowest active inventory in about 50 years. Now, that being said, one of the things that we do need to kind of touch on is, it's the lowest active inventory that we've seen in 50 years, but it's still the highest number of homes we've seen sold annually in about 15 years. So even though the active inventory is moving super quickly and is super low, the truth is we've actually had a higher inventory of homes sold in the past year than we've seen in a very long time. National Association of Realtors is projecting membership of agents up to 1.52 million agents by the end of 2021. A lot of that stems from the fact that everybody is looking at the speed of the market and they think that this is an easy business to get into. So you're seeing a lot more agents get licensed and join the National Association of Realtors. What that means also is that the average experience level of the agent is down. When you have a whole lot of new members coming into the marketplace, they don't have the same level of experience as previous generations of realtors may have because they just haven't had as much time in the business. Statistically, about 87% of the real estate industry gets out of the business within the first 5 years. So we have a very volatile, high turnover industry, unfortunately, where we have 87% of our members that hop out less than 5 years in the business. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who gets in the business is going to be bad, or a lack of experience is something that is not a good thing. It just means that they're only experiencing the market that we're in right now, and they may not be best equipped for the future, which I'll get into a little bit later. But it does mean that now more than ever, choosing the right brokerage that offers the best training and the best information for how to be a successful agent is paramount if you're getting started in the real estate industry, because it is a very, very inexperienced agent pool at this point in time. The next thing is that 90% of buyers surveyed stated that they would use their agent again. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is only about 28% of consumers actually call the agent that they previously used. So that means that a lot of people have a great experience with their real estate agent, but because on average people are staying in their homes, 7 to 9 years, their agents aren't doing a good job of following up or staying in communication, developing that relationship, and making sure that they're staying involved in their consumer's life, which is why only 28% use their agent again. As a matter of fact, many of the consumers who are surveyed say they don't even remember their agent's name because it's been so long. And that's something that I'm definitely trying to change in the industry with my certifications and my training to help people build their business by referral like I've done, so that I'm staying in constant communication and contact with my clients. So that was some information on the state of the market. He went into a little bit more information on the income of the National Association of Realtors agents and things of that nature. Stuff that's probably not going to be that interesting to people who are not in the real estate industry. But suffice it to say, it's significantly lower than most people think. The average income of a real estate agent is less than $40,000 a year gross before expenses. So you may see a lot of people in the real estate business and think, oh man, they're just crushing it, making a ton of money. Fact of the matter is the average agent is really not doing that great as far as a financial gain by being in the business. More of the important stuff that I really want to hop into is the interview that he had with Dr. Yoon. Dr. Lawrence Yoon, as I said previously, is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He is a very smart guy. He does a lot of great predictions on what the market's going to look like and all the things that he kind of tracks as far as metrics for what's going on with the economy as a whole and how that can impact the real estate industry. One of the most important things that he's paying attention to is all of the recorded data all the time. He wants to make sure that he's looking at historical past information so that he can give good forward-thinking projections. He's not just listening to the headlines, because headlines can be very misleading at times. One of the things that he really points to as misleading being the unemployment rate. If you listen to headlines, unemployment rate is being discussed consistently as being back to pre-pandemic levels. That sounds great. The downside is that these reports don't take into account the shortage of approximately 4 million jobs from people who are no longer in the workforce. You've probably heard of the Great Resignation. The truth is unemployment rate only calculates the amount of people in the active workforce as a percentage and does not take into account the fact that we've lost 4 million workers. That's why you probably see help wanted signs everywhere you go. It's why you probably have realized that the level of service at places you used to frequent and love has kind of gone downhill. It's not just you who's feeling that way. That is something that is happening nationwide, and it is a lot more difficult to get good people to come in and take jobs now than it's been in the past. Job openings are significantly higher than pre-pandemic levels. We're moving in the right direction, but unfortunately, because of the fact that, so many people were in a position that they just didn't have a need or desire to go back to work, we're still suffering the loss of those workers, and it is still impacting a lot of the things that we're seeing in the economy. Another great thing that he pointed out was that the number of homes under contract that have sold within 30 days of listing is up to 90%. That's compared to an average market time of about 186 days in San Diego in 1991. So we're talking about a sixth of the normal average marketing time from one of the hottest markets in the United States back in the 1990s. So 20-year difference, we're talking a sixth of the marketing time. Now that's why the inventory levels feel so limited, because there's such high demand, such high competition, and not that many homes on the market that are active. Everything's selling so quickly. That's why we're feeling this speed, this urgency consistently all of the time. They're projecting that is probably going to continue a little bit into the next year. Some of the changes in the listing inventory that are currently happening, though, is that homes are getting fewer multiple offers. I kind of joke and tell other people, at the height of the market in mid 2021, properties were getting 10 to 15 offers pretty consistently in our local market. In some other markets, we're talking about people getting 50 to 100 offers on some homes. So it's been absolutely insane. Currently, we're getting fewer multiple offer situations. In some of the multiple offer situations I've been in recently, we're talking 3 to 5 offers as opposed to 10 to 15 offers. So there's still that high demand. There's still plenty of buyers out there. It's just not quite as frenzied as it was this past summer. Homes are also sitting on the market a bit longer. Our average marketing time in the Evansville metropolitan area is about 28 days on market, so still significantly lower average days on market if you look at that number. But the median days on market, which is really kind of the metric we look at to show the actual speed of the market for the homes that are really selling, has gone up a little bit. It's still very, very low. Homes are still selling pretty quickly, but we're not seeing that, hey, homes are coming off the market immediately like they were this past summer. Another thing that's kind of helped on that number a little bit, though, is some of the practice of allowing a little bit more time for people to be able to get into the home to make an offer. When the market first started speeding up, you may have an offer on the very first day within the first couple hours, and sellers were ready to accept those. And there may have been a ton of other buyers who would have been interested, willing, and able to purchase that home that just never got an opportunity to see it. So agents have kind of expanded that marketing time, giving buyers an opportunity to actually get in and submit their offer to be considered in the running moving forward. That will probably continue to move forward into 2022 a little bit, but may not be as big of a requirement since those multiple offer situations are kind of coming back a little bit. There is a year-end surge of sales that's happening right now, second only to last year, because 2020 was the largest year-end surge of home sales recorded in history, and most of that had to do with the fact that the shelter-in-place mandates and guidelines that were in place in 2020 were starting to be lifted, so people were actually able to get out and really have that huge year-end surge of sales that we saw. The number of sales that we saw in the third and fourth quarter last year compared to previous years was unlike anything I had ever seen. I actually did more business in the first month or first quarter this year than I did in the first half of last year because of the surge that kind of came through from the end of 2020. Currently, what we're looking at as far as an increase in home sales compared to last year is about a 7% increase overall. We're going to close out the year with around 6 million units of existing home sales. And again, as I stated, that's the highest number of unit sales that has been recorded in about 15 years. So even though we feel like the inventory is down, it's just that speed of the market. It's actually the highest number of home sales we've seen in quite a long time. But that doesn't look like it's probably going to continue into 2022. They're projecting basically a flat volume of home volume sales in 2022, but that's going to be coupled with two different things where they're moving a little bit. The first is that we're projecting a 2% decrease in home sales for 2022 nationwide. A lot of that is going to be probably due to increased mortgage rates. Dr. Yoon is projecting that the mortgage rates will probably rise up to about the 3.7% range in Q3 of 2022 to Q4 of 2022, which if you're really looking at historical mortgage rates, those are still absolutely phenomenal, fantastic interest rates. I got about a 6.5 when I purchased my first home, and at that time, that was considered to be an amazing interest rate. So 3.7, even though it is higher than what some people have been getting in the twos, high twos, low threes, they're still going to be fantastic interest rates. So it may not have a massive impact on what happens with sales, but it is definitely going to decrease some of the number of home sales that would happen next year. Inflation is also affecting the pricing in the market. As other prices of other things are going up and things are happening, the price of homes is starting to slow in its appreciation. We're still seeing prices go up. They're just not going up nearly as fast as they were in the past. As a matter of fact, Dr. Yoon is projecting they're only going to go up about 3% next year as compared to the 13% that we saw this previous year. So, decrease in home sales, increase in home prices, you're probably going to see a flat year as far as volume of real estate transactions over the next year. We're also probably going to see a shortage or an easing of the shortage of inventory because new home construction has also increased. So there are actually more existing homes to purchase. And there may be some homes that are in forbearance that could potentially enter the market. That doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a huge surge of homes in forbearance because a lot of the people who are in positions where they, were either laid off during the pandemic or other things happened, a lot of those people are going to be in a position where they can actually catch up because they've gotten a job back. They can actually continue making the payment on their home. So a lot of those are not going to go to foreclosure or other things like we've seen in, the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. But there are going to be some people who have kind of recognized, hey, I haven't been able to make my payment previously, but I'm still in a very positive equity position. It may be easier for me to go ahead and just sell this home and purchase something smaller or move into a rental situation or something else. So there could be a surge of some forbearance properties that do enter the market. We're not projecting a lot of those because most people are going to be okay, but those two things factored together will help the inventory increase overall. Changes to coming interest rates. I kind of already mentioned that 3.7 is the projected range that he was saying for Q3, Q4 of 2022. Inflation is basically impacting everything, and lenders have to compensate because they lend their money with the basis on future value of the money, and they have to make sure that it makes sense for them to make money in the future when they're recouping the interest on the money they lend. Rates are based on the future value of money for everybody, so that's where they're kind of looking at, hey, everything's kind of going up on prices of everything else. Our future value is diminishing, so our interest rates have to increase. The Federal Reserve is also tapering their quantitative easing policy. They're tapering bond purchasing from about $2 billion per month down to zero by June of 2022 is what they're projecting. Short-term interest rates are going to be increased as well, and that is why he's projecting the mortgage interest rate to rise to about 3.7% by the end of 2022. As I mentioned previously, still phenomenal historic rates, but if that's when a lot of people who have only experienced the high twos, low threes are entering the market, they may have a little trepidation, but I don't think it's going to be anything that impacts the housing market too much. Another thing that he wanted to talk about is the fact that this is not a real estate bubble. That's a question that's been asked of me so many times. And according to Brian Buffini's research, it was an increase on Google search queries by about 2,450% over the last year, which is when is the housing market going to crash? In 2005, 2006, we had some of the lowest down payments in recorded history by the National Association of Realtors. We coupled that with basically anybody's ability to get a mortgage by basically walking in with a hope and a handshake and bank saying, yeah, here you go, here's your money, no big deal. We also had adjustable mortgage rates so that when those rates adjusted, a lot of people could no longer afford their homes. All of this led to that bubble that had that huge housing market crash. In the market we're in right now, these price increases and everything else we're seeing is coupled with some of the largest down payments we've ever seen in history. So we have a lot more stable financial buyers who are purchasing homes at these prices. It's also coupled with the fact that these rates are fixed. They are 30-year fixed rates. So people are in a position where if something would change financially or something else happens, their interest rate's not going to adjust and impact their payment over time. It's going to remain the same. So that puts them in a much better position than we were in the 2005, 6, 7 range. So we're not in a bubble right now. We're not in a position where we're looking toward anything causing a market crash anytime in the future. For my active agents who are listeners to the podcast, basically we need to understand that not all new agents are going to succeed in this market. This is a very different market than I've ever seen. I've been in the business for 15 years and I've not seen anything like it. As I mentioned previously, 87% of all agents exit the business within their first 5 years. Some of that's because they're not able to be successful. Some of that's because they did it as a second career and it's harder than they thought. They don't want to continue doing it. But ultimately, we have a very high turnover business. So understand that just because you're ready to hop in and get into this business, unfortunately, not everybody's going to be successful. So make sure you align yourself with a brokerage that's giving you the best tools, technology, and training to succeed in this industry. This career is going to be a challenge for many of the people who have recently decided to get into the business because we are on the tail end and a tapering of some of the fastest moving inventory we've ever seen. So having high professional skills is going to be something that's absolutely necessary moving forward. The third major point that Brian really wanted to get into was good habits for a good year. Now, this is going to be information that's more important for the agent listeners to the podcast, but this is also important for consumers to understand, to know what to look for in a great agent when you're trying to develop that relationship with somebody who's going to help you handle your largest financial investment in your life, which is buying or selling a home. One of the most important good habits for a good year is to have fun with the fundamentals, which means go back to face-to-face communication and relationship building. Those two things are more important today than ever before, especially after a global pandemic and everybody getting shut inside for a year in some places. People really want that personal connection. They really want that personal attention, and they want to be out and see you. So there's a lot of people in this business who are very happy buying Zillow leads and other things like that. Personally, for me, I prefer the working by referral method because I just really enjoy building those relationships with my clients, whether that's face-to-face, going out to have a meal together, whether that's checking in with phone calls periodically or video text messages or emails. I love the fact that I have friendships with most of the people that I've been privileged to call my clients over the years. The other thing that people fail to do a lot in this industry is celebrate successes. I basically wake up every single day unemployed, wondering where my next paycheck may come from, is what most people think when they are getting into a commission-based sales job. The truth of the matter is we do a lot of things that are very great all the time that we don't take the time to sit back, relax, and celebrate because we're looking to the next deal consistently. Making sure that you actually celebrate a success kind of builds those neural pathways that helps you remember that good feeling of what you've done so that you can continue doing the things that make you successful moving forward. You also need to take care of yourself and participate in training. Most people that I talk to this year consistently tell me, man, I love the fact that I'm so busy, but I'm really getting tired. Or man, I'm getting burnt out. Or man, I can't get a buyer in a house. I feel so stressed. This is a difficult industry. This is a difficult job. There's a lot of emotional toll that helping clients takes on an agent. If you're not taking care of yourself and making sure that you're in a position that your mental and physical health are in a good place, it makes it that much harder to continue being a successful agent. Taking care of yourself also means you need to consistently participate in training. This industry is changing faster than ever before, and it's imperative to make sure that if you're a real estate sales professional, you're staying on top of the changes in the market, the changes in the technology, and communicating that information effectively with your clients. Training is going to help you understand the best way to do that and make you the most successful agent you can possibly be. Another thing that is absolutely imperative to understand that is if you are not improving and learning, you are becoming obsolete. So I tell people all the time, you're either learning or losing in this industry. So make sure that you're staying on top of that all the time. All right. The next thing is the bold predictions. Now, these are Brian's bold predictions. I'll get into some of my own predictions on this moving forward after I finish up with this information. First is, due to the Fed chairman being renominated, there will be consistency in the monetary policy, which is always good to see. Fast-tracking quantitative easing will continue to reduce cash in the system to try to help curb inflation. That's probably what we're going to continue to see since that's already been the policy of this current Fed chairman, and the fact that he's going to continue in that position, I don't see any changes there. I don't think there's going to be any reason for that to change. That means that interest rates are probably going to rise, as I mentioned, by Q3 and Q4. This won't drastically impact purchasing ability, but it will slow the runaway pricing. So basically, we're going to see a tapering of that huge appreciation of home prices in the next year. Another thing that he says is that agents should be putting money away and investing during the next year. As the market changes, that means there's going to be changes to your income moving forward, agents. So make sure that you're planning accordingly and doing the things necessary to set yourself up for success moving forward. Real estate is a good hedge against inflation. growing inflation rates will result in increased demand for real estate. So that means that there's going to be more investors who are putting money into the real estate market to try to hedge against inflation in many ways. That's probably something that a lot of people who work with investors have already started to see. There was a divulging of a lot of real estate properties by people who have held on to inventory for a long time in this past year that I've seen because prices were up so much. It just made sense for people who are ready to get closer to retirement to offshoot some of those properties. There's a lot of new investors who are coming in and buying those properties up to try to hedge their money against inflation moving forward. Expect the market to slow down around the middle of next year. It's not going to slow down a ton, but it is not going to remain this huge, fast-paced market that it's been in the past. By this time in 2022, we will be experiencing a changed market. Not a changing market, it will be a changed market, which means that there will potentially be a lot of agents who are exiting the business nearing the end of 2022. He also says, bold prediction for 2023, that will be a market for skilled professionals, meaning that people are going to look more towards experienced agents who have been in the business for a longer period of time. Because of that changed market, they're going to want to look to people who have a proven track record of success. That was some great information that I got from Brian Buffini and Dr. Lawrence Yun from their bold predictions for 2022 that they published, which really led me to think about my own personal bold predictions for what it's going to look like, not just nationwide in real estate, but more specifically to our local market. I think we're going to reflect most of what the national market's going to see, or what most of the national market has seen, which is we're still going to have some increased pricing, but we're going to see that market slow down a little bit. I see that happening already in our market, so I don't think there's going to be any reason for that to change because we're kind of in an insulated area in the Midwest where we don't have the run-up on pricing that a lot of places have. We also don't have the volatility of the market that other people experience when things slow down. So I think we'll probably still be in that average range of maybe home sales will be down a little bit, but prices will be up, and will probably reflect what the national predictions from Dr. Yoon are on that front. The other thing I can tell you is our local association has not the highest number of members we've ever had, but we are approaching that number. We're at about 1,000 agents in the Southwest Indiana Association of Realtors. I think we're probably also going to see a lot of agents either exit the business, or people who were previously independent agents may look to join some teams because it's going to be so important for good education and good training to keep people in the business. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the reason we may not see as many agent exits is because they keep an active license and then take another job on the side as well. That's not necessarily a problem, but if the market does continue to change, I think it's always imperative to make sure you have somebody who has great experience, who has a lot of knowledge to help you through changes in your personal financial situation or other things that could happen in the future moving forward. I also think that FC Tucker MG Realtors will continue to be, in my opinion, the preeminent training source for new agents. Ken Haney, our director of training at FC Tucker, will actually be a guest of mine on the podcast in 2022 to talk about some of the amazing things that we're doing to make sure that our agents are set up for success. I also think that the Aaron Advantage team will continue to look and attract talent because I love what I do. I love helping develop other agents. And because of the fact that we're in a position where we are affiliated with FC Tucker MG, we're in a position to help new agents get in the business and grow to be successful. So those are my bold predictions for 2022 and 2023 moving forward. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Aaron Advantage podcast. As always, if you have any questions, you can always feel free to call me at 812-779-6273, or you can tweet me at Aaron Advantage. Hey, this is Aaron Luttrull. Thank you so much for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast. If you would like to be a guest, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We're always looking for other people to interview.